Welcome to the Informal Mystic Podcast, where the mystical meets the practical, and we dive deep into the infinite possibilities of quantum connection. I'm Blair, your quantum field guide, here to help you explore energy, consciousness, and healing in ways that transform your life and awaken your soul. Join me as we step into the transformative power of the quantum field to create the life of your dreams. Hello, friends. The Informal Mystic Podcast is back with another fantastic episode. Today, we are going to be talking about my very first paranormal experience at Randolph County Asylum in Indiana. I went there. I was just a little under a year ago, and actually recorded this podcast over the summer with Lynn and AJ from Weirdos in the Wild. And the experience I had there just sort of altered my medicine so dramatically. And it really showed me sort of new responsibility that I had kind of wandered into or stumbled into. And I'll just never forget it. I'll just never forget the beings that I met there, the lessons they taught me, the humility they kind of invited me into. And at the end of the experience, I took a picture, and like literally it was indescribable. Like I was there taking a picture, and in the picture there was this figure, or this apparition. And man, I will just never ever be the same. I had just so much multi-dimensional experience in that one night. And oh my gosh, it really altered things for me. And so I thought that this would be a perfect month for me to drop this, because in my apprenticeship program, we are going from kind of like setting some foundation. The first 3 months we've been setting foundation, and then this month we're really kind of starting to get into the nitty-gritty of what we do. And our experience this month is going to be a paranormal investigation, so that we can understand what energy and spiritual like frequency looks like in the 3D, right? Because it's still here. Even when we can't see it, we still have connection, this like multidimensional connection to ghosts and fairies and elemental energy. And so that's what we're going to be really focusing on this month. And so we're going to be doing that paranormal investigation. It lands on freaking Friday the 13th. Talk about divine timing. I didn't plan that. That was the universe just throwing me a bone. So on Friday the 13th, we're going to be doing that paranormal investigation / elemental experience. And I'm just so excited. And so I thought it would be a really good experience for them to listen to my first experience with a paranormal investigation before they had their own. And it'll be different because we're going to be doing like circle stuff too. And it's a Christmas party. Hey. So it'll feel a lot different for them, but I want just like a firm grasp on what we're doing. And this podcast seemed like a great way to get the ball rolling. And so this actually was a collaboration. This podcast was sort of meant to be double posted, and it's already been posted on Lynn and AJ's podcast, Weirdos in the Wild, for a really long time. Like I said, I recorded it back in the summer. And I've just been holding on to it for a really long time to, I guess, kind of figure out when it needs to be posted and when it needs to receive its limelight. And I'm also realizing that I am kind of shooting myself in the foot with my podcast, because I want to have like a whole season of episodes posted. And I'm kind of, I don't know, it's like I'm letting perfectionism get in the way. And so I'm just really excited to bring this to you. And I'm going to kind of make this commitment to being more active on the podcast, because it's really a fun way for me to get content to you all. It's a really fun way for me to answer questions, and everyone will benefit from the questions this way. And so, without further ado, this is my experience with a very first paranormal investigation I ever went to. And AJ and Lynn from Weirdos in the Wild will be kind of starting us off. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Weirdos in the Wild. My name's AJ.
And I'm Lynn.
And today we have someone that you guys have talked to before with us.
Hi guys.
It's Blair again.
Blair McDaniel, the Informal Mystic, joining us again today. And we've got a crazy show going on today.
Mm-hmm.
So this has been a while since we've done this, but Blair went with us on a investigation to Randolph County Asylum. Yes.
Yeah.
And so we were over in Indiana and were able to tour it. And this was the first time that Blair had ever been on a investigation.
Paranormal investigation. Yeah. Didn't know what to expect.
So she went with us and with our friends from Oldham County Paranormal and our group from Beyond This Life. And we had the whole place to ourselves that night.
We brought all the weirdos.
All the weirdos.
I mean, it was huge. We needed a whole other horde of weirdos to like really get the whole investigation done. There was so much ground to cover. We could go back like 4 more times and like just go to different parts. I don't think anybody investigated the attic. And the attic was wild. And so we just needed more time. We needed more time.
I would have liked to have had some more time, and if it wasn't so cold at that point either, I would have loved to investigate it outside in the barns a little bit.
Yeah. It was really, really cold.
Yeah,
the thing that was getting me by was Haley let me borrow her her ear cover thing, and I used it as like a glove, and I like wrapped these tiny little hot hands in the ear warmer thing to be mittens because I didn't bring enough clothes. Didn't know what to expect on all fronts. I didn't know what to expect in the 3D or the 4D or the 5D, any of the Ds. I did not know. Just not prepared at all. So,
well, you took it in stride. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty on brand for me. I usually go out there and I'm like building my plane as I'm like falling from the sky. So, yeah.
So, Lynn, you usually give us this. Give everybody a little bit of the history about the place because you usually do that. So,
well, it was one of the homes. Yeah, I'm trying to remember because it's been a little while since we've been, but it was one of the homes that was used for the indigent care, where people lost their homes, or back in the day, if they had any kind of mental challenges, they could reside there. They lived there rent free. If they could work, because it was a working farm, they did work. If they didn't, that's okay. They got to live there anyway. That's really the only type building it was. It wasn't like a hospital or,
I kind of feel like asylum is like a little bit of a misnomer, like a marketing thing.
Yeah, they said that the people that lived around there called it the poor farm.
Right.
Because that's where the people that couldn't afford to live anywhere else went to. And I guess that we found out from their historian that every county in Indiana had one of these type of facilities. And, I mean, it's big. It was a big place, as Blair said.
It's huge.
And it
beautiful,
was,
too.
Yeah, and it was a working farm at one point. And
it still could be, honestly. They've got a nice big barn and silos. And and it's just beautiful. So
I want Blair to tell us, like, this is your first time. And we love to bring people into things their first time.
I'm so virginal.
You are. So I guess, what did you expect going in? And then, what was your thoughts once we were there? And I guess even once we were done, I mean, because there was a lot to take in.
It's a lot to take in. So I went in flying really blind still. Like, I didn't do a whole lot of prep work. I had a podcast with Lynn and she was on my podcast, and we talked about paranormal investigation because it's not the primary thing that I do, but I find so much overlay or an overlap with the things that I do. I find there's so many past loved ones that'll come through for me in session. And even in like my little insight sessions and my little group offerings, so many past loved ones are coming through, connecting. And the soul is sort of this transcendent thing, right? So we can label things paranormal or quantum or energy. We can label all kinds of things, but there's this thread that goes through all of it. The concept of like paranormal investigation and vectoring and aliens is not that much different to me. It all feels very similar, and doing the work that I do doesn't feel that much different. And so I went into it sort of like intentionally blind. I got the invite, and sort of like immediately knee jerk to the yes, and touched base with my guides, and my guides were like, yeah, you have to go because there's a skills gap. You have a skills gap, and you need to be, we want you to go there to bridge this skills gap. And I'm like, okay, skills gap, that sounds cool. Maybe there's like more relationship work I have to do, or like maybe I need to like get better at talking to strangers, or
So is
I'm
a
thinking
skills
so
gap
in
when
the
you
3D.
say yours a skills gap for you?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, my guides were like,
Because we
"There's
got
something
skills
you're
gaps,
lacking."
believe us, and you could definitely help us.
You could
out,
park
so.
a truck in there.
Yeah.
I mean, theoretically, you can park truck in everyone's skills gap. Just depends on the skill you want to develop. But yeah, so my guides are saying like there's some kind of thing that you're supposed to learn here, and this will be a really, really good experience for you. And so it was a good. I'm really trying to get good at like using my time wisely and like like doing things that take my mission forward instead of just like doing things because they seem fun, right? Mm-hmm. It's a little like a discernment thing that I'm going through, just like in my own personal life. And so when I touched base with my guides, they said, absolutely, we want you to go. And I'm thinking like, oh, this is going to be such a good opportunity.Maybe the skills gap is like my relationship with Lynn. Maybe we could get closer. Maybe I could, like just connect with people better, blah, blah, blah. And that was not the skills gap. I'll just like say that to begin with. But yeah, the original question was, before I like go into the whole, what the skills gap actually was, I did not have prep work.
Okay.
I was really like blind to it all. So,
Well, there's a lot of times, I mean, you can tell we go into things blind a lot, but a lot of times especially me, when I go into a building, I don't want to know anything about it.
yeah.
I don't want to know who's there or who's supposed to be there. I like the history of the building is fine with me. I don't want to know any of the claims. I don't want to know anything when it comes to that.
Because we want to trust our
We do.
experience.
We want to trust our experience because several times we've had something happen to us, and then in the back end we were like, "Oh,
Did I make that up?
no." At first, yes, you kind of think, "Do we make that up?" But a lot of times we've come back and we're like, "Well, this happened," and and then whoever has been there before, and who runs the place we're in or what have you, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, that happens all the time." Mm-hmm. So
like a little like affirmation, like a synchronistic type, for sure.
So that was interesting. That's what kind of why I don't. I know she doesn't like to know a whole lot either. So
Yeah.
No, because I want to know that what I experience is valid. Mm-hmm. So I go into it blind thinking, okay, if I see a man in a long white coat, and then I find out later that everybody else is seeing a man in a long white coat, then I know that what I'm experiencing is real and it's not
you creating
something I created. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that with the work that I do, there is sort of this, like I do it so frequently, like I'm in the energy, like, sometimes I'll be in the energy day after day after day, or session after session. I'll be in the energy for like 8 hours at a time. And I have gotten to the point where I can just validate myself. And so I kind of ride the fence there. Sometimes I really will like to cold read somebody because I want them to have that experience of like, oh my gosh, she's really seeing me. But sometimes it's nice to have a little framework to go exploring, right? So with like the first contact we made, I knew the story, and it was very easy for me to connect with the energy because I didn't have to go and track it down. Does that make sense? So yeah, I think I would probably it could just depend on the time, the place, what my preference would be.
Well, why don't you tell us about the experiences that we had there, and
Okay.
kind of how you looked at it? Because I'm going to tell you what, I looked at it completely different, and don't take this the wrong way. Please don't take this the wrong way.
I am so offended already. Now I'm hard to offend.
First of all, I was blown away with you with what you were experiencing and how you had connected. We've had some experiences where we've just people have just bullshitted us the whole night.
Yeah.
And you instantly blew me away and with your connections.
Well, why would I be mad about that again?
Well, because
Because we went at you as a skeptic.
yeah,
Yeah, okay,
I
got you.
I am
Yeah.
these.
Like a natural.
I'm
bent
skeptic
towards
about a
them. Yeah.
lot of things, and that have come back and just hit me right in the ass, and then I'm like, okay, I see you now. One of them is because we have been around some people that, I mean, my dog could have told me better things than what they've told me. Sure. So, but you were like instantly, you were like connecting because well, tell the story because I was kind of in the middle. And
you were like my
I was literally in the middle.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't really know anybody. I knew Lynn and I sort of knew AJ a little bit. And then I knew Missy a little bit. But as far as like going into this group of people and like integrating my capacities and my talents, it was really weird. Like I didn't know how it was going to work. Right. You guys show up with like all this equipment, you got the balls and you got the detectors, that. And it's like so cool. But I'm going in just like as a channel and as a, person who can connect, who's attuned their capacities to connect with the energy. And it's really hard to figure out where to fit, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so I arrived and just sort of quickly realized that I wasn't like, no one was going to tell me what to do. I was like waiting on somebody to be like, here, hold this, do this, think that, what about this? And I'm like, hang on, no, that's not necessarily the right approach. Like I need to pull into my own power, into my own capacities and have an experience, right? Like I'm not there I was there to make friends. I really like you guys. I really want you to like me and I want to be friends with you all. But I can do that. I don't have to go to a paranormal investigation to do that. Right. And so I wasn't going there with the sole purpose of making friends with you all and like, seeing, like learning how to do paranormal investigation. I was going there for an experience with the energy, with the thing we call ghosts, the thing we call paranormal. I was going there to see for myself what it was like. And so pretty quickly after we got our tour from that, I just love that guy. I just loved him so much. He was this just like elderly person who gave us this very detailed description of like who was there and what they were doing and the lives of the people that lived there. And he had such a regard for the people there. It just felt like he was a very good story keeper, maybe. Mm-hmm. And so after we got to experience him and his just like adorable energy, I wish I could have hugged him, but that probably would have been weird. But after that, we immediately kind of transitioned into the investigation. And so you all set up your equipment in this little boy's room. He wasn't like a little boy. He was like 12, I think. And he had passed away from, was it tuberculosis? It was like a lung. Recall. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was tuberculosis. But that's where we kind of set up. And at first I was kind of just like watching and like lingering and just like trying to figure out where I fit in. And then eventually I was just like, I need a chair. I need to just tap in and figure out what's going on. And so I was sitting on the wall and I started connecting with his energy and channeling what was coming through. I wasn't channeling to anyone, but I was just having this really independent experience of this child.
And you were independent of us. You were in the hallway.
I was in the hallway
in a room
with
me,
AJ. Yeah,
and then everybody else was in the room.
Yeah, everybody else was in the room asking questions, making contact with the tools that you all had. Mm-hmm. And so I was having this independent experience, connecting to his energy, trying to understand what I was connecting with, trying to understand how this differs from what I connect with in session, and trying to figure out like what a ghost is and how it functions, how it exists, in what plane it's existing. I'm really, really curious about mechanics and like how things work, because it makes the path easier for me to get back next time. And so I'm sitting there and I'm channeling, and AJ picks up on it. AJ read the energy that I was putting off, and it's like he knew that I was seeing things and having this experience with this child. And it was really sweet, you guys. I probably could have just had like a really vibrant experience on my own, but AJ was really invested in making me part of things, and probably it may have even been selfish. Like you may have just been like curious to see what was going on for me, but he kind of pulled it out, and he's like, hey, I can tell you got something going on. What's going on? And I'm like, oh God, here we go.
Yeah. So everybody in the room had their equipment. Mm-hmm. And so we had the portal going at that time, mm-hmm. and you all were in there asking questions. Mm-hmm. And I was hearing the questions being asked. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, I could tell you were channeling and that you had connected. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, I was curious, I guess is a good way to put it. I was curious because I was hearing them ask questions, and then I wanted to know what you were getting. Uh-huh. Were you getting a different person? Mm-hmm. Were you getting the same person? Was that person answering the same questions? Were they not? Mm-hmm. And I'll be damned if they weren't answering the questions, because they were asking the questions. Mm-hmm. You would get the answer first, and then they would get the answer on the portal.
Yeah, it was freaking wild.
And you would tell me, because you would tell me, and then I would hear it in here, and I was like, wow, she's on it tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was connecting with this child energy. Okay. So I kind of want to get really detailed about what I was seeing, because I feel like it's one of the more profound things I've experienced. And there's so many layers to that singular experience and time with this specific energy that I'm still working with right now. And it's been through 3 months. It's been a few months.
It's been a while. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just sitting there, and I had called in this boy's energy, and I would say that I'm like a recovering savior. Like, I like to go in and save people and fix things, and like that's not always a good thing, right? Like, there's times when like helping is not what is needed. And so I went in there with like this sense of superiority. Like, I'm going to go, if there's a ghost that wants to pass over, I'm going to go save all the ghosts. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And so I call this child into my energy, and I'm matching his frequency, and the vibe that he gave off, the energy he gave off, was just this blissful, joyful, youthful, fulfilling experience. And it was so jarring. I was like, wait. You're a ghost. Like, ghosts aren't happy. What is this? And he's like, oh no, this is such a good life for me. And what I saw was he had this experience with his father that was not good. His father left to go to war. His mother and him and his siblings, I don't know how many siblings there were, but they came and they lived this life of care and protection and community. There was a lot of community energy around this child. He would go out into the fields and farm with the older men, and he was like, I love it here. I don't know why you think I wouldn't. Right. And so the energy shifted into, okay, well, if you don't need me to help you pass on or like fix your situation, what do you need from me? And he was like, well, I could use a mother's love. And it was really, really sweet. And it was like emotional. And I just kind of pivoted, and I'm like, okay, I'll give you a mother's love. I'm a mom. I know how to do that. And I just archetypally, even though I don't know you on a 3D personal level, I still have deep love for you. And so I was connecting with this child, and just having this vibrant emotional experience in the middle of a hall. And AJ's like, what are you seeing, girl? What are you seeing? And I'm like, AJ, if I could tell you everything I'm seeing. And so what I kind of settled on was like, well, okay, he likes to run. That's one of his favorite things. He would race down the halls, and then the box thingy, what is it called? The portal. Uh-huh. Is that just a ghost box? It's picking up words?
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
With an amplifier.
Yeah. So then the ghost box would say, run. And then he was showing me that he liked to go out on the farm, and which my dad told me that he used to do this as a child. So it was interesting that it came up, and I'm like, maybe I made that up. But he would chase down rabbits, and he would like he'd run a rabbit, and then it would stop, and then he'd run the rabbit again, and it'd run and it'd stop, and he'd get it to where it was so tired that he could catch it with his bare hands. And then I think the next word on the portal was rabbit or something.
Yeah.
And I don't know, just like over and over again, I would tell you something and
it would be on the portal.
Be on the portal. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then the experience pivoted. It wasn't like it went from this experience of being like a mothering energy to this entity, this being that was occupying this space, this dimensional frequency. And all of a sudden something came up behind me and put its hand, I don't know what it was, but it put its hand on my shoulder, and it said, it like leaned over me. And this is all happening. It's happening physically. My shoulders is experiencing the feeling of being touched and like tightening up. But it's happening like in my mind, like I can't, AJ wasn't like, oh dude, there's something behind you. Right. There's no like provable way of any of this. But in my mind, this entity comes up behind me because I was having such a vulnerable, unguarded experience with this being, this child that I was connected with. And he puts his hand on my shoulder and points ahead and he says, look. And I'm like, what am I looking at? What am I looking at? This is scary. I don't like this. And it was hurting my shoulder. And I look at my guide because they're there too. And I say, help me. You were supposed to keep me safe. And my guide says, skills gap. And I'm like, excuse me.
Hello, here's your skills gap.
No warning, no nothing. And so I immediately, energetically put blocks up, put barriers up, and sort of banished that entity, that presence from my energy. But I could tell it had left something behind, if that makes sense. And it had left something behind. And I was like, I don't know how to get this thing out.
Well, you had told me that you felt like there was something behind you at one point. And like you said, it wasn't like I could see it. That has happened before where I saw it behind her at a different location one time. So that's interesting. So, and you felt like it was something that was bad, or it was going to hurt you, or did you think it was just something that was like wanting you to like it was in charge and it didn't want you to mess with the boy anymore?
It didn't feel like it cared about the boy.
Okay.
It felt connected to the boy in a peripheral way. It wasn't like connected to the boy. At first I was like, is this the boy's father? What's going on here? How does this make sense in the story? And why is it telling me to look? And it did feel like dark. It felt, and the funny thing is that Lynn, like when we did the first podcast, I was like, do you think that there's dark things? And we're like, no, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think anything's going to hurt you.
Then wham.
I know. It's like alter your belief. And here's the thing about, I know, what a freaking liar. I was so unprepared. I was like, Lynn said that this wouldn't happen. No. What they showed me, cause I was like, I'm autonomous. What took place? Cause I've been working on this theme ever since. I've been like trying to understand, trying to make sense of what it left in my shoulder. And, my guides have shown me that this is at a certain dimensional level, this is something that I volunteered to take on. This is something that I invited into my energy, and that's the only way it could get there. It wasn't a non-consensual thing, even though it felt so shocking and jarring. But at a certain level, I wanted to experience the illusion of being harmed, and that's in air quotes, by this entity, by this energy. And as I continue working with this entity, because I actually can feel it on my shoulder right now, as I continue working with it, what it seems to me is this toxic masculine archetype. And it's this transcendent, this is probably really weird. I'm glad I'm talking about this on the Weirdos
in
podcast.
the wild.
Yeah, but it's almost like there's this dark animating force that is influencing the masculine, the divine masculine right now. and the more acquainted with it I am, the easier it will be for me to work with it. And so I've taken it on. It's in the right side. It was on the right shoulder. The right side of the body is the masculine. And I have this in my energy body so that I can really, really get good and acquainted with it and get really good at working with it. And that's like not a traditional approach. Like, no, I've never met somebody like, I'm taking on this dark energy so I can learn how to work with it. That's just not what, I don't know. It's probably not a great practice, but for whatever reason, it's the one that I picked. So.
I keep coming up with it's a practice entity. It'll go away when you master it, but it's a practice entity. And
yeah. And so it thinks it's, like, and at some level, right? Like, okay, we're all God, we're all energy, we're all source, we're all just consciousness manifesting into different forms. And so at some level, it also knows that this is the agreement we have. Oh, I'm going to put this thing in her shoulder. It's going to happen here. And this will teach her this. And it also has that veiled illusion of overpowering me. Does that make sense? Yeah.
So do you think this is your gap that you have to fill to be able to, I guess, work with these dark entities or
protection?
Well, I definitely need to learn how to energetically protect myself.
Yeah.
Right. If I'm going to have moments of intimacy with beings that have passed on, if I'm going to get to know their stories and like really be able to meet their needs in that plane, I need to put things in place beforehand. So there's one skills gap. The next skills gap that is like maybe a level up of, on the dimension or the, like, that's an acute example. And what I'm working with now is a more general example of being able to handle the presence of a toxic masculine energy, right? And so I've had so many opportunities since then to work with the unhealthy masculine. And I hate that for me, but I have found myself in the very, very recent past, like I'm literally talking about like last week, where I am like awakening into the benefits of really helping the unhealthy masculine heal, right? There are a lot, working with men, they're a lot sturdier than working with some women, right? I can just say the thing and I don't have to mince words. I don't have to put it in like nice packaging. I can just be like, listen, you're triggered. You're acting like an ass because you're triggered. And so there's this real like power that I'm kind of finding because I integrated this masculine energy. I'm so familiar with it, and I can just feel myself getting more and more comfortable sitting with it and helping it shift. So there's skills gap number 2.
I'm going to ask you this. So because you're talking about the energy or the dark thing, you were in the basement with us, right? When we experienced that.
Yeah, that was the next wild experience.
I was going to ask.
My first of this kind.
Yes. So we experienced, just for everyone to know, we were in the basement of this building, and we had kind of 2 things going on at once. Susan from Oldham County Paranormal had experienced something as she walked down the hallway toward us. And it had came out of one of the rooms there. And I don't even know if you knew this or not.
I think I was gone. I don't know where I was.
She had walked upstairs to do something. And then she came back downstairs. And as she was walking back down this long hallway toward us, she had experienced something. And Susan doesn't get rattled.
No, she doesn't.
No.
Yeah, she doesn't seem like...
She doesn't get rattled at all.
She's tough cookie.
I think she rattles the ghost.
And she kind of came back and she kind of stood behind me and kind of like looked around me. And I was like, she saw something because she's not that way.
Yeah.
And she was like, it's right down, AJ, look down there, on the right, that room about halfway down, da, da, da. So we were watching that. Now, if you think about just so everybody knows, there's like a long hallway, a wall, and then another hallway, and then there's a big room over here on this, would be on our left side. That's where we were seeing this what do you want to call it?
Shadowy, demon-looking thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was unlike anything I think I've ever seen before because it was so formed.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen things that had maybe possibly, like the creeper at Waverly, you get that kind of, it could be a demon-y feel, but
Yeah.
it was really a blurred image. Where this, I could see the definition of what it was, and it was not like anything I have ever seen. And look at my goosebumps I've got
I
right
get
now
goosebumps.
because I'm thinking about it again.
Yeah. Those are frequency bumps. When you land on the truth, they come.
Yeah. So, we saw it, and then you and I had another experience with this thing that blew my mind.
That's one of my favorites.
So do you think that was a different dark entity than what?
I feel like it was. Well, okay. So
Because
I had
when you were connecting, I just wanted to know if you felt like it was something different. I felt like it was something different. I don't know.
Are you talking about the one in the hallway?
I was talking about the one in the hallway versus the one in the basement.
That feels different to me.
Okay.
But okay, so I had gotten my chair again. Apparently, I like to sit when I channel. So I had my chair, and we were connected with Doris, who was
the lady from
the most precious.
She was the cook, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, she
Been
was
there
the
since
cook.
she was 12. She was like 12 or 14.
And so here's the third skills gap. I'm connecting with Doris, and here I go again. And I'm like, this lady probably wants me to help her pass over because I'm so qualified to do that. And I hope you guys hear the sarcasm in my voice. It's my first ghost hunt, and I'm like, come to me, ghosts, I'll help you. But I connect with her, and I'm like, are you happy here? Like, what is going on with you? Tell me your story. And she was so happy. She was so happy. And it was this.
Let me tell you this.
Okay.
This is one of the things that John taught me. Is that, when I first met John, I asked him thousands of questions every night we ghost hunt together. And one of the things I asked him is, why do you think a ghost or an entity stays where it is?
Yeah.
And one of his things was he always believed that they stayed where they were happy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can get by on that. Well, based upon the experience that I had with those two beings those were probably the primary beings that I connected. I connected with a couple more up in the recreation room, which me and Lynn had a completely different experience in the recreation room. But we had kind of made our way down to the basement, and every single connection I made was this, just like, I'm here because I want to be here. It's a choice of free will. And that was actually one of the most educational parts for me, because she was this very equipped person who came to me, and she's like, your shoulder. And so she comes behind me, and she's doing energy healing on my shoulder, and she is teaching me as I'm doing energy healing. And I'm like, well, why can't we see you? Why aren't you connecting and interacting with the equipment? And she was like, well, this is hard to explain. She's like, every ghost has a different, which, I mean, they don't call themselves ghosts. I have such a hard time talking about it now because I've met, they're people, guys, they're people, right? We like to turn them into this scary thing or whatever, but they're people. And so she comes to me, and she's like, every being that is manifesting in this way, as the way that we would call classically ghost, she says they have a cycle, and as they cycle through their timeline, and they're hitting, I guess what would be a month for us, they move closer and further from this dimension. And she's saying, I'm far from this dimension. She was saying, I'm far from this dimension right now, and the only way you can really access me is through the astral plane, which is what you're doing right now. And so it was just so interesting because she was kind of showing me the cycle of the moon, and how things are so cyclical, and how the cycle also rules or it doesn't rule, it influences that dimension also. And so I don't feel like we connected with her in the 3-dimensional with the tools at all. Mm-mm. But she was just saying, well, I'm further away. You can't connect with me right now. But she was also saying that she has stayed in that time and in that place because she wants to connect with people. She wants to kind of break our understanding of what is normal and what is not normal. And so
it's like her delight to like invite us into the paranormal because it is helping Earth ascend the vibration, right? When we have these rote definitions of what is normal and what is not normal, we are stagnant. And she is occupying this space so that she can help break that stagnancy. And she really is serving because this is a place that does like ghost tours. So she kind of feels like that's like a life purpose. And then she'll every once in a while she'll meet people like me and we'll have a deeply connected experience. So that was her thing down there.
And then
as I'm working with her, she's working on my shoulder. I don't see it. I feel it, or I see it with my third eye or whatever. Lynn's on the other side of the room. I'm on the far left side of the room, so I can only see a tiny little window into that room. But Lynn's on the other side of the room, and all of a sudden, out of the depths of something, don't know how to explain that.
through the wall, actually.
Through the wall, there's like a crack in the wall, but it's also like a crack in dimensional reality. There's like a crawly thing, like a it looked like a dog, but it almost looked backwards or something.
And had this almost like a hunchback. It had a thing on it.
Yeah, it was very uncomfortable. It was very like shadow energy. And so I'm working with Doris and I'm like, what is that? And she's like, oh, they come through every now and then. And I'm like, okay, just real flippant about it.
So it
I'm like,
wasn't
this
any
feels
big deal
dramatic.
with Doris, huh?
Yeah. And I was like, is this evil? And she was like, well, what do you mean by evil? Like, it does not consider itself evil. It just considers itself hungry. It just looks for energy. And you guys are a lot of energy right here. And so it comes through because it's a lot of energy. And immediately at that point, I had learned the lesson, right? I bridged that skills gap really fast. And I put protection, like I put the energy wall up for us all. And at that point, Lynn was tapping into it also, right? She was seeing it, and I had the wall, and
I actually sat down.
Yeah.
I saw it, and then I sat down. And when I sat down, there was like a bar kitchen, bar thing in the middle of the kitchen, like work area. It was behind that, so I couldn't see it anymore, but I was still seeing it in my mind's eye, just like you were.
Yeah. So we had like this joint channeling experience.
Yeah.
It was friggin' wild.
It was crazy.
So what I was seeing, because I was to the right of you, like probably 3 to 4 feet away from you at that point. I was watching something that looked like what I thought looked like the creeper that we had experienced at
It was close. Yeah.
Waverly. To me, it was that I didn't really see like anything that was definite, but I saw a big mass that was dark mass, like black, that was, and it was blacking out the wall. You couldn't see the wall behind it. And, but it was down low, like it was
like a dog.
like it was
It
down
had
low
long
against
arms.
I feel like we were calling it like a hell dog or something. I was like, Lynn, it feels like a hell dog.
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, it does.
Now, but was this at the same time something pushed you?
No,
That was up in the rec room.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So we we're having this like joint channeled experience. I've got us all like behind the glass or behind the energetic barrier. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? And me and Lynn at the same time, we were like, okay, let's tell it to leave. It was like so wild, Lynn. We were so tapped in on the same frequency. And we're both like, okay, it just needs to leave. Like, just go on back home. And we're just
said, if we were doing that, neither one of us said a word on what we were doing until I said, are you seeing it back away? And you said, yes, because I just told it to leave. And I'm like, me too.
Yeah, so
and
we
it
were
was
even
gone.
like giving it the same.
Then it went away.
And we walked in there, and there was like a brick that was missing.
Yeah.
And it was like it had came from there and it left from there.
Yeah. And I
crazy.
After I was trying to kind of make sense of it all. I always want to make sense of it all. It's probably not
I do that
always
too.
the healthiest, but when I was like exploring it later, you've seen what's it called? It's gone. What is that freaking show? The Upside Down?
Oh,
Stranger Things. Yeah. What they were showing me was there's all sorts of dimensional reality stacked on top of one another, right? We've got the ghosts and the fairies and all of these things kind of stacking on top of one another, and it left its upside down, or its like mirrored shadow realm, and slipped over into ours. Well, it wasn't even technically ours. It was like another click over, because it wasn't a physical 3D form. It was energetic, but it slipped into our dimension, and we just go on back down the drain, man. So yeah, that was what happened.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. So I think that was the first thing that got me nervous. The second thing that happened to me made me want to quit ghost hunting.
That was
And
upstairs.
I left.
That was the second thing.
That was the second thing.
And then downstairs was the third thing.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
tell us about the other thing then.
The other thing. We were standing in the rec room, and we were looking down the hall, and we had a light grid up so that we could see, if anything went past that would absorb the light, because the light wouldn't reflect back. That disappears when there's a darker energy there. So we were watching a shadow person that would peek his head out occasionally and pull it back from another room down the hall. And AJ is standing to my left, and Shannon is sitting in the floor to my right. And all of a sudden, 2 hands hit me on the chest and shoved me backwards, enough that I went, oof, and took 2 steps back, like, kaboom. And Shannon was going, oh my God, I heard that. Are you okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I just got pushed. And I stood there for just a second, and I'm like, I'm done. I grabbed all my equipment. I went back to base camp and sat down, and I'm like, I don't think I could do this, because something physically shoved me. And then I sat there for like 5 minutes. I'm like, no, I'm not letting them win. I went right back out, went right back to ghost hunting. And then it pushed me again too. It pushed my shoulder forward.
Yeah, it pushed you twice.
Yeah.
So it's the second time that you were like, oh, hell no.
Yeah. It was the 2-handed front, on my chest, and then one from behind on my left shoulder that pushed me forward. And I'm like, this thing is pushing me around.
So
I don't like this.
What energy did you get from it?
It was negative, but I didn't feel like it was dangerous. But it definitely felt dark and negative, like it didn't want me there, or it was at least trying to get my attention.
Mm-hmm. That's so interesting.
But it didn't come with me when I left.
Different experience.
Yeah.
I was seeing the rec room in like its heyday, and I was just so full of joy. There were some people who were mentally challenged, and I feel like when you asked me, or like you were like, hey, what's going on? That's sort of what I saw. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. We were just on 2 different planes that time. Mm-hmm. So I was seeing just people's happiest experiences, which is so wild. Like, if I went in with expectations, the expectations would have been like, this is a sad, sad place. A lot of death happened here. A lot of like destitute people. And
right. And it's run down and spooky. Well, that building's not very run down, but
it's not that bad. Yeah.
Most haunted places are. So you get that perception. Yeah.
It's like, you're entering with perception. And I don't know, there's just like a cultural perception of like what a ghost is. Mm-hmm. And everything that I channeled was just so contrary to that. Mm-hmm. I just saw just beings like there, happy to be there. And I don't think it'll always be that way. I feel like I'll probably, as I deepen my capacity, I just really feel like there was like lessons for me to learn, like humility. It was so humbling for me to go into a place where I'm like, I can really change things. I can help this place. And the place is like, let us help you. Let us help you. Let us invite you into another way of perceiving reality. So yeah. Beautiful.
One thing you said, and just so we don't get hate from other people. A lot of people don't believe that, when you go into a place, you should not help people move.
Yeah.
So we're not doing that. So don't give us that hate mail. We don't.
So I wonder what that's about. Like, why?
Well, some places, just so you know, the place we're going this weekend, you have to sign a waiver saying you don't help anybody.
Oh, I wonder why.
Because they want them to stay there. They want them to stay there so people can have experience. I understand that. I get that. And we're respectful of their wishes. They own the property. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, the last time I was there, I came home and cried my eyes out because I had an experience of somebody I couldn't help. I wasn't allowed to help when I could have.
Yeah. There's a matter of like And like, you know, if this totally violates all things that you all stand for, edit it out and like don't get in trouble or whatever.
No,
But,
I'm just saying that if somebody will say, you're not supposed to have, well, we don't help them, but
If we're in a
if somebody
situation where
comes
we
to,
can, we do.
we do,
Yeah.
and Lynn has helped people in the past,
Mm-hmm.
but that is a different situation
Yeah.
than
I mean,
at this particular place.
Yeah,
for sure. I use the energy and my connection with the sole purpose of helping. Right. Like that's my business. I'm a quantum energy therapist. I leverage and access energy to help people heal and have a really good life experience. And so if ever there comes a time where a being comes to me and they're not having their premium life experience like all of these happy little happy beings were, it comes to a matter of ethics for me. I will assist when it's asked for, and I feel like I have enough practice in my own practice to know when that is right.
Yeah.
Like I don't sit in the savior complex. I help those that want help, and all else they can go.
But isn't it great that to think that those people are there and they're loving what they're doing and they're there every day?
Yeah.
Yeah, that it makes a lot of. It brings me to the question of like, what is a soul? So the soul is such a multi-dimensional across the spectrum of potential realities that there's a part of me out there that I'm not even aware of. There's pieces of me left in places and, actually incarnated into other lives even. And to limit our understanding of the soul is not smart. Right. And every experience I have with the paranormal or otherwise really expands my understanding and awareness of the soul. So
It's all learning. That's what we're here to do.
yeah. Soft, open.
So now we've got to the end of the night.
Nope. We
have
have
it?
one more.
We have one more?
Yeah, we got the
more.
next
we did.
morning.
It actually was the next morning. That's
Yes.
right. And you and
Broad daylight even.
Susan.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us? You and Susan were in the attic, right?
No, it was just me.
Oh, I thought it was Susan was with you. Sorry.
No, it was us three. We were the ones that were like awake and like walking around and like I was like, I want to get pictures. This place is freaking cool. There was like a bunch of like mid-century modern stuff and I'm like a real into vintage, and so I'm just like, this would be so cool for the Instagram feed. Like the aesthetic of this place is like to die for. And so we're walking around the property and like we're going to the barn and we're going, all over, going through the halls and we're going up the stairs and we're just exploring. And then we get to the final floor and I'm like, I wonder what's up there. And you guys are like, we're not going up there. We're too tired. And so I went up alone and I am walking down the attic is huge. It's expansive. And I'm just like walking from one end to the other end just to kind of see what's up there. And they had like these like chairs in the middle of the thing, sort of like in a seance-y fashion. And they have these skylights that are like kind of beaming light, like artistically across the room. And so I get to the end and I'm like, this is amazing. This is so freaking cool. And I take a picture of me looking at the whole place. And it just looks so cool and artistic. And so I walk down a little further and I had the heebie-jeebies. I was like a little, and I didn't know why. And I'm like, it's an attic. That's probably why, because attics are scary. And like everything just feels a little scary. And it's the only time I screamed. I opened the door to see what was behind this door, and I didn't know what was behind this door, and I opened the door and the door scrapes on the floor and it goes and I'm like scared the living daylights out of myself. And it turned out it was the staircase on the other end. It was just the stairs. It wasn't anything scary behind the door, but I got myself worked up and I like closed the door and I'm like, okay, it's time to go. And I like go back down the hall and I'm like walking down and I'm like, whew, made it out of there. So then I come home and my son is just like so intrigued by what I'm doing. He's like, Mom, we gotta take pictures and we gotta evaluate the pictures and send them to this YouTuber and blah, 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 blah. And so he's going through all of my pictures to see if I had found any orbs or any shadow people or anything. And I'm like, oh, this kid, he's so silly. And then all of a sudden we're sitting at the dinner table and he's going through these pictures and he goes, Mom, you found one. You got one. And it was this picture of the attic. And it was just so insanely artistic. And the placement, the ghost, it's like he knew. It's like he was posing for a picture. And he's placed up against the back of the it's like this brick wall, and you can just kind of clearly see like a face with eyes, shoes, and a body. Yeah, it's like he's got shoes on. It's like his little like leg is kind of popped out a bit, and it was the most. I was like, oh my gosh, life will never be the same. So.
Yeah, wild. It's crazy. Tell them where because Blair's posted this picture.
Yeah, you can go to @informalmystic.com or you can go to informalmystic.com, but it's not there. You can go to @informalmystic on Instagram. So post it on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, and she made me mad. I've been ghost hunting for years, and I can't get a picture of one in her first try.
That's always
there
the way it is. You just go in with this like dumb, virginal energy. Oh, this is neat. I like ghosts. And that's who gets it. It's not the experts. I'm sure I won't get any more.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't be so sure.
Well, fingers crossed we do, but.
Yeah, because you're going again.
Because it felt like a collective experience. It felt like our picture, not just my picture, You all didn't come up there. You should have come up there. We
should have.
Yeah, we should have investigated up there. But.
I didn't even know it was there until you went up.
Yeah. It's
when I look at it, what it got me about it is that whatever it was, it was so dark that it had completely blocked out that brick wall that was behind it.
Yeah.
So there was definitely something there. I mean, people would go, "Oh, you could," because I kind of looked at it the first time and
he thinks I'm good at photo editing
something. I was like, nah, because I was like, sometimes you're. Like what's the phenomenon called where your eyes matrix
pareidolia, something like that.
You know what it is? I don't. So you could kind of go, okay, maybe it's the brick, but then I was like, oh no, you can't see the brick.
Yeah, I mean it's like the whole figure.
Yeah.
Right, and I kind of researched after, and there's like they used to hold court up there. And there was a judge who was like a really harsh judge and would like sentence people to like time in prison or punishments or whatever, fines. And my intuition is kind of telling me that that's who it is or what it is, and would be so interested in connecting with his energy to see if that's still an experience he wants to have. Because that one sounds bad. I mean, I think that objectively, if you're looking at any life that we heard about, from the year 2024, they all kind of don't seem like ideal lives, right? But they were most of the beings all the beings except for that thing. They were having a great time, and they didn't want help shifting, and they didn't need help. And if you guys want to send hate mail, send it to me, because they aren't doing the thing. I'm the one doing it. But I would love to tap into his energy and see just what the experience he's having is like.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So here's another thing, because Lynn has alluded to it, that you guys are going, actually this week, you guys are going somewhere.
We're going to miss you.
Where I cannot
I need
go.
a translator.
So, I've been to this place we're not going to tell you where it is because we're going to keep this for another podcast.
That's right.
Blair is going to come back
and
talk to us about it. Because we've had some experiences here, and inside and outside, which is what I love about this place.
Yeah.
So I wanted to know what you experienced there, because I had a crazy freaking experience there.
Yeah. Isn't that where you found your orb or something?
Yeah.
Damn orb, yes. The orb that I never believed in until I saw it there. But I had the other experience I had there was pretty crazy too.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to tell you because I don't see if you have it.
Yeah, don't tell me.
But yes, that's where I did see an orb. So I kind of want to see that, and I want to see what your experiences are there.
Okay.
Because it is inside and outside.
Yeah.
So spend some time outside this time.
Okay.
And watch everything.
Yeah.
I'm going to be doing it the whole night. It's so fun. It's so fun to be in the energy, to experience this stuff. It's all play. Like, my business name is Informal Mystic because I seriously feel like my guides like gaslit me into giving myself this name because like they know I have this predisposition to take myself super seriously. I like for things to feel fancy and professional and really cool. And so like the longer into this business I get, the more humble I am able to get and the more silly I am able to get, and the more I'm like, this is not that important. Like, this is equal parts so important and all play. It's all just like a cosmic art that we're putting on. It's this cosmic dance of like, hey guys, everybody put on your veil. Okay, let's get into character and play action. Right? So, I don't know. It's just this beautiful, meaningful, meaningless dance that we're all participating in.
So now, kind of to wrap it up for the night, what happened that night. So when you look at it, what do you think when we were done? I mean, were you like, oh my God, that was cool? Were you like overwhelmed? Were you like...
I had a lot to process. And I had a lot of cultural baggage to kind of put to sleep or to put to bed. I no longer can just like think about ghosts in the same way that I used to think about ghosts. They're humans, right? If they are and obviously like there's all kinds of energy out there, but the people who have passed away from the earthly sphere, the human sphere, they're beings, they're people, right? And like, I don't necessarily feel like we give that enough impact as a culture. And so that would be the main takeaway for me, is that like, I can't remain in the cultural conditioning of like, ghost, boo, scary, right? Haunted. Right. I'm seeing beings that are having experiences that are needing honoring. And if nothing else, if I can't help them or do whatever it is that I feel compelled to do, I can at least honor them and really add, just like give them what they deserve, which is being seen, right? That's what we all want. We all want to be seen. And I'm glad that I have the capacity to see them. So,
well, we're glad you feel that way, because when we go with our group, we want to be very respectful. Because like you said, those people are there. That's where they live, basically, you know, and that is their, like you talked about, that is their happy place. We're not going to go in there and not
jack things up.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We want to be respectful. I mean, you probably noticed the way we talk to them too. Thank you for talking to us.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting us be here.
Can't come home with us, but
no. And I usually kind of at the beginning of the night, one of the things I always do is kind of silently say to my head, first of all, I tell them, thank you for letting us be here. We've come here to talk to you, to maybe see you. We're not here to harm you. We're not here to disrespect you in any way or disrespect your home. And I'm glad that you feel that way too, because it's not that stuff that you see on TV.
Yeah, it's not a game. It's not a freaking game. It actually kind of these days, now that I've had an experience, I'll see the stuff on TV and I'll just be like, that is so gross.
Bullshit.
That is so gross.
I'll say it.
Yeah,
It's bullshit.
it's bullshit, and
some of it is bullshit. Yes,
it's gross.
some of it's not.
Some of it's not. We know. I mean, we know people who have been on TV, and we know people that know those very famous people.
Yeah.
And some of those people are not that way at all. They are very respectful, and what they do is real.
But it's just the media who turns it into this, like, I mean, I know that
That's what sells.
scary sells, but
Right.
you know what else sells? Like human connection. Like if us three could come up with a TV show where we're like honoring human connection and like giving the light side of this, it could be, I don't know. I personally feel like it could be a hit. So if any
Y'all
TV
heard it hatch
producer-
here. Yeah. Actually,
any producers want to come and do this, we could do it. But yeah, I feel so almost, like when you come into something and you kind of see like a little bit of like an injustice or like like something's not quite right. It feels like there's like a little bit of a burden of responsibility for shifting things. And so, when Lynn asked me to come to the other one, I was like, heck yeah. Cause I want to know more, right? If I'm going to have this awareness of like the soul and how multidimensional it is and how expansive it is, I want to do that job well. And I want to know as much as I can about all variances and incarnations and experiences and expressions that the soul can have, so that I can honor it well, right? And so with this, it's like there's like a little bit of a burden of responsibility to honor this too. So
Yeah, it's like I said on your podcast. You have to go into this with an open mind and to be ready, because a lot of what you experience is absolutely beautiful.
beautiful, guys.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So
This isn't a game. This is after I get done saying this is all so silly, guys. Right? It's both at the same time, but just honoring the beings, the individual beings that I met, and it's a gift to be able to see them, and to know them.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you want to go again. It kind of sucks you in, and you
Does
and you're welcome to go with us anytime.
Thank you.
So-
You guys, I passed
You
the
fit
test. I'm part of the club.
yeah, seriously, we all both teams are really great, open-minded, non-judgmental people. I think I told you that from the very beginning.
Yeah, you
Just
did.
be yourself. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
So,
I was like, Lynn, I'm nervous. I don't know how to go and be there. And she's like, Blair, they're fine. And I'm like, they were fine, but it's still, I'm like, still don't know how to be there and like show up and
Just
I
be
needed
yourself.
I needed AJ, my translator.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right. Does that wrap it up?
I
That
think
wraps
so.
it up. Well,
Okay. We have more stories, but there are other people's to tell that we might get on the show later.
that's right. We might get some other people to talk about this. So,
Yep.
and we've got new stories because you're going to come back and tell us about your experiences this week.
For sure. Y'all, we could have some freaking fun. There's just a lot out there to explore and discover. So
Yep. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you for being
you.
here.
And thank you guys for coming on my podcast. This is a share.
Yes,
Yep.
it is. Got us both. Weirdos
Yep.
in the
Yeah.
Wild and the Informal
Mystic
Mystic.
podcast. Yep.
All right.
Thank
well,
you guys. So there you have it, folks. That was such an exciting adventure, such a beautiful initiation into a way more expansive conceptualization of energy, right? Like so much of energy healing, I have found kind of shies away from the grit of human existence. It is so much love and light that it kind of leaves humanity behind at times. And that's like always been kind of a primary criticism that I have of spirituality, modern day spirituality, just to begin with. And so when I entered into this experience with the paranormal, it was like the next equipping for me. It was like the next level of my medicine kind of unfurling before me. And so it really has become such a big part of my life. It's become just such a vibrant experience, which is why it's ended up in my apprenticeship program. Right now, it's not the only thing I do, and it's like a small facet of what I do, but it has made me such a well-rounded healer. And I'm just so, so, so grateful that the universe kind of aligned us all in this way to learn from one another. And so Randolph County Asylum was beautiful. I absolutely just loved all of the spirits that I met there. And fun fact, I actually learned later on that what I was encountering with that toxic masculine energy is called an egregore. And what an egregore is collective energy that kind of takes on a life of its own. And so there was a lot of that very toxic masculine energy that was there for years and years and years and years and years. And the frequency of that collective being kind of became its own thing. And that's called an egregore. And so that's what I was encountering when I was in there and working with that child's energy, and was the entity, the being, came up behind me and left something in my shoulder. I've actually cleared what was in my shoulder quite a while back. And I'm just now left with the knowledge of what it is, what it was. And I'm definitely much better at working with masculine energy than I used to be. I used to be kind of scared of men and kind of staying up for myself. And I'm really not anymore. And I really do think that was maybe like the last layer of shifting out of that. So just a lot of gratitude for that experience in general. Now, I'm going to post my picture on my Instagram feed again, and it's going to be in my highlights, the highlight called I Am Podcast. And so if you want to see that picture, go to I Am Podcast. I would love to share it with you. It's such a cool picture. And I would love to just have you, in my energy and my frequency. If this was a compelling, intriguing podcast and you want to connect with me, I do a discovery call. I have a few spots open in my one-on-one program right now. I just opened a few spots, and in January, my prices are going to shift again, and my program is actually going to shift too. I'm going to have like a longer program available. And so if you know my program, Becoming the Mystic, my 12-week package, I would just love to have you in there. Would just love to have you guys in there. So if you want one of those 3 spots, grab it now, and I'll see you next time, friends. Bye.